Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Looks Like We Made It. I'm Issy Howell and I'm not joined by my dad Chris today. Once again, he's on holiday still, so he'll be listening to this from Bonnie, Scotland to talk all things video marketing. We are the father and daughter who run the fabulous video production company Howell Film, and each week we will be discussing everything like what happens behind the scenes on our projects, getting results from your video content, how to start using video in your business, and plenty more to come. We will be joined by some wonderful special guests, including our own awesome clients from all kinds of industries, as well as our own film crew and even our own family to candidly converse about creativity. On this episode, I am discussing rapidly evolving production technology with the wonderful Andy Roughan, who is our lead filmmaker and general third person in Howell Film. And so without further ado, let's get started. And of course, never miss an episode every Tuesday by giving us a follow or subscribe, as well as finding Howell Film on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter and LinkedIn. Let's go.
Hello.
Hello, sorry I introduced you in such a terrible way.
It's okay, I'm used to it. No, I'm kidding. So really what I kind of wanted to lay out today, firstly, is kind of a timeline of from my experience, even, working in the industry for God knows how long now, but basically a really good timeline from my earliest experiences to kind of where we are now, and that's gonna lovingly include technology that we use at Howell Film, of course. So really my timeline, or my kind of first exposure to filmmaking was when I was studying it for my degree, and not to sound really old, but I started on tape stock.
My God.
Mini DV tapes.
Is that what they rolled in, those big reels?
Thankfully, no. I mean, these things for the kind of more older folk listening, just imagine that it's kind of like a cassette tape, but it's it feels maybe it's about, just a little bit smaller than that. And that used to take, obviously, when you would record, you'd get a video track and an audio track. And then we used to whack that into what looked like basically a massive VCR. So you could put even then things like Betamax and all that kind of thing that would go in, and the mini DV would go in there. And then you would actually have to wait for the tape stock to play through, and then turn that into a digital file.
Oh my God.
Which you would then go on to post-production from there. And obviously that, so from a starting timeline reference, we're going to start with mini DV, JVC kind of broadcast cameras that they were, and a digital editing suite. It thankfully wasn't film at the time.
But the technology now, or the technology that we use for all our shoots and in our events and just day to day that we're recording on right now, must have, if you'd have gone back in time to yourself when Charles Dickens had just died and Queen Victoria was on the throne, when if you go back to when you started doing film using this kind of technology, would this have seemed almost space age?
It was, so kind of. We were on the cusp of what is now known as the DSLR revolution, which was the 5D Mark II.
It's not like the French Revolution.
No. Well, it's the story itself is quite funny. The whole reason that we have the fast progression that we have now was the actual developers of the 5D Mark II put a video function in and forgot to remove it before they actually put the product out for sale.
I love that attention to detail.
And they basically, what happened was they effectively left the video function on, and it used the Canon color science that everyone was kind of raving about at the time anyway, for its photography. But then it became video as well, and the 5D revolution really kick-started the first steps into my own filmmaking journey when I got my own little Canon 550D, which was one of the first kind of consumer range cameras. We are talking a long time ago, by the way. We're talking about over a decade ago now, but that had the video function in as well. So they'd obviously then went, oh, everyone's really excited about this, so let's keep this in. So that was when, for me, it went from mini DV to the more as common as it is now, SD cards. And all that storage, really.
That's it, because, I mean, we've come from very different angles of the film industry. I mean, I know you've been in it for a lot longer than we are. I know we keep talking how old you are. You're not...
Yeah, I'm not like,
You're not 87
I'm still in my 30s, so it's good.
Yeah,
and early 30s, actually. I want to underline that.
Yeah, loosely underline
loosely early 30s.
But, no, we've come from very different points in the film industry. I mean, you're a filmmaker, I'm an editor, and the technology that we're used to and the quality of stuff that we're used to is very different. But I was a kid when flip phones were a thing, when the Motorola Razr was the holy grail of phones, and I remember using the video function on that, and my brother having a handy cam, and he would follow me around hoping I'd fall over for a You've Been Framed video. But that, at the time when I was a kid, it was like the best thing ever. It was space age. There's videos of me at age 10, and the camera quality is terrible. I put it in Premiere Pro, our editing software, and it was about 10p. Yeah. It wasn't 1080p or 4K. But at the time, that was like incredible, and you look even back 10 years to movies and stuff, and news reports and stuff, and you realize just how dated it all looks and how old it looks and how grainy it is, and really I think it's particularly in the past 10 years, the 2010 onwards, is the time when things didn't just gradually go, they just spiked in a way where we went from flip phones and Blackberries and button phones to iPhones with proper cameras in, and with real nanotechnology that revolutionized how we consume stuff. And from a video marketing perspective, this technology has meant that, yes, it's changing all the time and it's growing all the time, and God knows what's going to be around in the next few years. This will seem really out of date in 10 years' time, because, we'll be talking about how amazing things are now, and we'll be laughing at that. But for people who want to promote their business and people who want to, use the latest, flashiest things, this revolution in technology is astonishing, because you can go from paying thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds to have a TV advert, or you can have incredible 6K technology and all the bells and whistles on a video for a lot less money than that, for more accessibility, more views, more data. You get more out of it. So that's something that for people who are in business, I imagine 10 years ago was completely out of there, but now it's incredibly vital for your business. It's not just something that you kind of lusted after as a small business. It's now something you can easily just pick up the phone and do.
Well, this ties into basically, as I mentioned with the 5D revolution, it's known as the digital revolution. It's part of that digital revolution. And really, why am I talking about this? Well, it basically what I'm drawing attention to is the fact is that with the advancements, everything became cheaper to produce, to get hold of as well. So it went from being, crews of people to go and film a promo, like crews of people, to one-man bands, two-man bands, and that changed the industry overnight. And one of the big things, especially in relation to video marketing, that I remember was that because this technology was now put in the hands of people who could afford it. So, before that, you're talking tape stock. Every time you have to pay for tape stock. You can record over it, you lose quality, all that kind of stuff. So tape stock costs money. Cameras cost a lot of money. Then cost a lot of money.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, some things haven't changed. but I'm talking like you couldn't just go out and buy one.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like
it
becomes harder to kind of acquire because of its price to entry, I should say. You've got the lens side of things as well. But also the quality was never that amazing in things like DV. It was because it's very video-y, which makes you think of that early time. But
it was good quality at the time.
It was astonishing at the time. Like when I remember when everyone was talking about 720p and they were like, it's beyond standard definition. It's high definition, and everyone was like, "Oh my god, 720p!" And then obviously, but with this digital revolution, the real importance of it is the fact is the accessibility for talented filmmakers to then purchase their own kit to offer up a service for businesses meant that they would be able to pass, I don't want to say pass the savings, but pass that
value.
Yeah, like they could then say, hey, I've got a camera, I've got audio kit, I'm shooting promos now. It's not going to cost the world for a small business then to be able to go, oh my god, I can get video content for my business and it looks great because it's in 720. It's not, it's not standard definition. It's not 480p. It's 720p. So the high definition cameras became the market standard. More people could acquire it. And effectively, it meant that more businesses could have lots of video production content made.
Yeah.
And that's how we got here today, really, in terms of now when you go on Facebook, you go on Instagram, you have your ads, you have all those kind of things. And I remember when everything was growing into Facebook and getting your ads on Facebook, and it became like a full-on advertising platform. Even to this day, it's astounding how much kind of value like video they've intentionally really designed the platform to carry video as one of the primary things. I think you were telling me the Instagram has really pushed to become almost solely a video platform.
Absolutely, and YouTube. What was the first video you ever watched on YouTube? Do you remember it? Was it that much of a momentous moment? Because I remember it.
It was 2005 when it
3, I think it was.
You think it was earlier?
I think it was a lot earlier.
I remember I was living in Felton at the time, so I would have. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was.
They just got electricity by that point.
Yeah, we just got the internet. No, it was. I can't remember for the life of me, but I do remember the old layout. I remember how it looked, and do you remember the old YouTube logo?
Yeah, oh god, yeah. But because I only say that because I remember the moment that we got YouTube. Well, we used YouTube, and I remember whenever these kind of new on-demand platforms would come on, even Netflix, even Amazon Prime and beyond, even for the past 5 years, I would feel like it was illegal to have this much access to a thing. Like I thought Netflix was some kind of online pirate-based thing that you would, rather than buying a DVD, you'd break the law and go on Netflix. But because in my head, I thought anything that accessible, it has to have something wrong with it. And that was when I was a kid, and I remember we were at my grandparents' house, and my dad had my granddad's ginormous laptop and opened it up and put on the Whenever Wherever Shakira music video. And I remember that was the first thing I ever saw on YouTube, and the discussions, and I was only 7 at the time, and the discussions around the YouTube that we've discovered was that this is going to revolutionize things, and it's going to make a massive difference to how business is conducted, how people consume content. And that was, I want to say, the early 2000s. But that was true, and it did happen, and that revolution took off massively. But weirdly, I don't think so. That was maybe early 2000s. There was only YouTube, and there was only really those kind of quite easy sites to get involved with. But it wasn't until the real emergence of social media, I don't think, that platform, all these platforms really took off. I think YouTube initially was just a place where you'd maybe watch music videos and learn stuff, and it was very innocent. But now it's literally so massive that it's something like they're increasing their storage by about 1,000 terabytes every second at this point because they have to keep on top of everything. But my question is, in a roundabout way, do you think that social media has had a massive impact or placed a lot of pressure on designers of camera technology to really step it up a notch or change their direction or what they want to provide to their customers?
It's a good question. I remember years ago they were designing cameras with an editing options built into it, so they exactly. I mean, that was news. So the idea, I assume, was that they could effectively edit the news on the fly and then send it back, and I don't know if that anything ever came out. I certainly haven't seen.
Please don't introduce that technology now.
Well, no, but the thing is, it's very basic.
Yeah.
It's, you know what I mean? It's like put cut here, move. It was very basic. You couldn't do much with it. But I remember that was something, and I think that kind of I'd never seen it ever again. So presumably that was like a foray into something that they just dabbled with. But it was. I don't think necessarily the approach has changed much for the buyers of the cameras, as it were. So like people like me who go and get a camera. What I do, however, think is that they are now more savvy in regards to what the purchase kind of price point cameras that they're making. So, right. For example, if you're, for example, I have GH5, the Panasonic GH5 is one of the cameras that I own. They one of the key features for me was the fact that it has what's known as in-body stabilization, or 4-axis, I think it's 4-axis stabilization. So which means that effectively the actual sensor has a stabilizer on it. So if I'm handheld or I'm on the glide cam or the Ronin, I've got an extra level of stabilization within that. And that, I mean, that's a purely video thing.
Totally, but that's how you get those smooth shots.
Yeah. Because it's an added thing that I know helps make the shot smoother before any post production has been done. And to me, looking at that as a feature, that is them saying, okay, people are going to be using our cameras on the move. They're going to be putting them on things like gimbals, which means that they're not necessarily saying, oh, you're going out to shoot a promo or you're going out to shoot an event. What they are saying is, wherever you are, we've got these features covered for you because you are using this kit in a professional capacity. And that's the way that the manufacturers, I think, have started to really introduce features like that to make, and it's to make our lives easier, but it also helps them because then people use those cameras more. People tag things like GH5 in their social media posts to show off the footage and stuff that they've been doing. So it's an extra draw for people to come to that a kit wise. But then if we talk about something like the Blackmagic 6K. Which is I'm got no shame in saying it's our flagship camera.
It's like it's the ultimate flagship for us.
It is monumental. Now, if we're talking about the journey with Blackmagic design, we're very into our Blackmagic products. We have DaVinci Resolve, which is editing kind of software for people at home who don't really obviously and apply context, as it were. And we started off with the cinema camera, which it's
an old Shire horse of a camera.
But
it's a hard-working camera. At
the time, revolutionary. 2.5K footage out of this kind of quite a boxy camera. Not many people kind of knew what it was when they saw it. I certainly knew the difference when I've been using a DSLR and people would stop and say, "Oh, can you take a photograph?" And then they didn't, and then they saw this camera and they were kind of a bit unsure. But the image quality was out of this world. Even to this day, that camera produces a gorgeous image.
Oh yeah, we look at it, or if we got it out now and started using it and coloured it correctly and edited it correctly, it still stands up. It still looks fantastic, even though it's how many years old? I don't know.
That's probably, I think that's about 2013. But then what they didn't have was features like slow-mo. So they had only thought about people shooting
But what they did think
normal
about,
content.
what they did think about, they did really well though. And I
Yeah,
think that's the thing that I find, as someone who, I'm a professional editor, I work in production.
Yeah.
I'm not by trade a filmmaker, so I'm not a camera person. I don't do that technical side of things, but I'm heavily involved in the production of things, but not to that extent. I give that to you. I give that to the people who really, you're incredibly talented at that.
Yeah.
But for me, I think that when you start editing with this stuff and you start making stuff like this, when you're working on this side of the industry, everything can be quite not a slow process, but it starts off, with the original Blackmagics, every frame would be in an individual file.
CR2 file.
And it would take forever just to... And what would happen with particularly the video marketing industry is, I think over the period of I think when we first started making video content a few years ago, was way before the pandemic and stuff, but that time period was an interesting one because there was a real thirst for regular, off the cuff, quick video content. Like there was the growth of immediate gratification started about there when you could buy stuff on Facebook, when you could message people, tag people, hashtag. The access to communication became so massive. The need for immediate gratification became so massive that we would be saying sort of, yes, we'll make you this on the fly social media content, but let me please click every single frame and color it individually and go. And initially the process of building these video pieces that were meant to look really quick and flashy and fun were quite a slow process. And I think what we found in investing in technology, because as a film company, every year we have to sort of we have to take a new look at what we've got, buy new things, because you're immediately so last year if you don't. And we have to be the need to invest in technology is so massive. We're constantly looking at it, constantly getting new stuff and learning new stuff as well. So I'll have just mastered something and then it'll be like, oh no, there's something even bigger that you have to learn now. But that sort of process, every single thing that we buy technology wise, every single thing that we invest in and we learn is all related to speed. And I think, and that's particularly with Blackmagic, the brand that we use, that's something that I've noticed a lot more recently, that yes, you can sort of slowly and painstakingly go through every single little bit, but because the customer of the owners of these cameras are demanding stuff really quickly, or there's a perception that these things are like whiz bang, here we go, off we go, press play, the cameras and the camera technology have to keep up with that. And that's why I think that social media has had a massive impact on the production of equipment, because they have to understand that we need stuff quicker. We need to be sending stuff out quicker. We need to be making stuff quicker. We need to be transferring stuff quicker. All these things. And you end up almost, if something's a bit slow in our industry, it's not just a bit slow. You want to throw the computer out the window and you want to burn the camera and never use it again if it's slow. And speed is such an important thing, which is why I think, and that's sort of related to my question, is that if social media never became a thing and never existed and we just had YouTube, the cinema, and that was it, or TV advertising, and sort of taking it back 20 years, if social media had never emerged and never happened, I wonder if the camera technology would have been developed in a different way. The way we would make films would have been a bit different. I know I'm really speculating on something that would never happen, but it's just interesting to me that I wonder if the impact of social media, the impact of video marketing, has had a big impact on how they've designed equipment and whether it would have been any different.
That's a big question. That's a big question. It's difficult because we can only really assess based on the information that we have, which is that social media changed about 60 different industries all in one go. But just kind of like hearkening slightly back, really, just to round up on what makes the Blackmagic 6K Pro so incredible, and why it was such a great purchase, comparing it to the old model. When we upgraded, everything about that camera had been improved from the original model. it now does slow-mo. It now does...
It does everything.
It literally... it's got built-in ND filters, so just to explain to people what that is it's basically sunglasses for the camera.
That's how he described it to me, so...
Yeah, so you basically have, like, set filters, and they help. If it's a bright day, you press the button, it brings an ND filter, and that's built into the camera. You don't have to screw it on the lens anymore. It's there, you press the button, it comes down. Hey presto, press a button, you can lift it up again. Incredible. It's, you know, it's recording codec, like you were saying. It's no longer like this, you know, individual images. They completely redid the entire way that it records, so that a lot of the information that you would record can now be, you know, with a bit of experience, you have more work in post that is easier. So unlike before, where you'd have to go, oh God, what's this? Change this, change that. It now just says, hey, what's this? What's this? What's this? You know, you go through those buttons. You need to know what you're doing. Of course, it's not just a case of putting the footage in and going, hey, it's done. You still need that experience and knowledge, but from a workflow perspective, it's speedier, which is
absolutely.
what you were talking, you know.
It's so much quicker, and I think that's particularly with DaVinci Resolve and stuff. If you are not familiar with editing software, the battle between Premiere Pro and DaVinci Resolve is like the Avengers style Thanos versus the rest of them. It's a really big thing, and a bit like Marmite, you either love it or hate it. I've always sort of gone through Premiere Pro, and then that's where I've made that transition to DaVinci, and I've taken a lot of more of the classic skills that I've got as an editor and applied that to DaVinci Resolve. And the best thing about that is that, a bit like with the camera technology, they've acknowledged the bits that are slow and the bits that take an expert eye, and they've said, right, we're taking that expert eye and we're putting the fast forward button on it, and we're throwing even more in, and it's really exciting. And I think that's the thing about rapidly evolving production technology, is that it not only benefits the people making the films, but it benefits the people receiving them, because we've now got the ability to offer next day edits, same day edits, editing live, delivering stuff live. Like, you can get your video before we've even packed down the cameras, type thing, and that's really, really amazing. And particularly, I mean, even during the pandemic, while we thought that the start of the pandemic would create a bit of a pause button on the film industry and a pause button on marketing, which it did, particularly in people-facing situations, it didn't for the development of technology. In fact, we came out of the pandemic, or came to the other side of it where we are now, thinking, okay, we'll pick up where we left off. In fact, if we picked up where we left off, we'd be really far behind. There's so many more things to be getting involved with, and with the development of, you know, live streaming has now become more high-end than it's ever been before, and, you know, the way we consume information is now completely transformed. So it's not just producing stuff like it was before the pandemic. You've got a new way of consuming content, a new way of communicating even now. So who knows what it's going to be like in the next few years. I mean, what do you what's your speculation as of this point? We are time capsuling your speculation.
Okay.
On how it's going to be.
So this kind of ties nicely in with something that I wanted to mention anyway, which is the ever-changing role of green screen in society. So whenever we think of green screen, we always think, you know, big Hollywood or blue screen. Yeah, exactly. You're thinking like they've got all this stuff, or Star Wars. The technology now in post-processing is, and this is coming from a personal thing of having worked on a passion project, which is utilizing the Unreal Engine to build a city, and how just how mind-blowing that technology is. But we, as you know, we are known for live streaming events as part of the cater, you know, the catered audience, as it were. We do things like live streaming. Well, one of the big things that is certainly coming on the horizon, and to some extent is definitely here, is being able to, and this is affordably, I want to make that abundantly clear. I'm not talking, you know, match of the day, whether people know this or not, most of that is not a studio. It's them sat in a green
thought that about
thing.
the Olympics.
The Olympics, the Olympics is not real. Sorry, we're not living in the Matrix. The Olympics is real. The Olympic coverage is people in a studio.
So they're not throwing a shot put into a green screen.
And they're just like CGI. It's
actually
everything.
A ping pong ball.
Yeah.
No, but that's it. I thought, well, when I look at any film or TV, I'm always got that editor eye where I have to watch everything twice, because I watch the first thing like really technically, and then I watch it again and I can just sit and enjoy it and turn that part of my brain off. But I genuinely, when the Tokyo Olympics was on, the amount of people who had to really slowly explain that was actually them in Salford or London, and I couldn't, and it was so real, it was so there, and I admit I'd spent longer thinking, what building is that, rather than actually thinking, can I drive to that? And that's amazing. And I think, and particularly with things like Instagram and Snapchat, the filters you can use, my God, the backgrounds that you can use are incredible. And people have that green screen technology in their pocket now.
So one of the things which I think is really, really interesting is that the as part of the live streaming, the cameras, that we're sorting, is that going through the software in DaVinci, it can do that live keying. Mm-hmm. So you can line up those backdrops and effectively have the software live key, much like you would see on TV, do the heavy lifting, as long as it's, there are caveats, has to be evenly lit and everything like that, but it will do all of that live for you. So that and is
that with a green screen or
it's with a green it's with a green screen. So all it'll do is it'll do replacement. So it'll go basically screen replacement. But that being able to do that felt alien to doing it on a budget. Basically, you need someone to sit there and go, okay, I need to ultra key this out and change the background. But if the software is doing it for you and you are live streaming that out. And we're talking, you could be doing like a bakery show or something where you want to do something with like a kitchen backdrop or something.
Weather or something.
Exactly, but it's all done live, so it's less post production. It's done live, so people can feel really engrossed in the world that you want to present on that.
There's almost going to be a need for changing the term post production, isn't there, to just being production, like in the moment production or something, and that's amazing. And this is technology, when we're talking about this, that is available to everyone, as in, like, if you approached a video production company that offer this, these things are accessible. All it takes is asking the question. That's amazing. Thank you, Andy. We could talk about this for hours, but I'm going to have to end it there, and we'll carry on talking once we've cut the microphone. But last question, as I always ask a question at the end of these podcasts. My question for you is, if you could do any other job other than a filmmaker and a cameraman extraordinaire, what would it be?
It would 100% be working in the realm of video games in some capacity. Okay. That's
so still kind of video.
I guess always like media-y. I'm that person, but I always think a bit. Like there would have always been that option to do video games, and they're two passions
of mine.
As in, like,
Space Invaders, Pac-Man.
Well, more probably. I'd love to do. I'd love to do that. Or what else? Because that's a pretty. The problem is that
still very
it feels
techy.
It feels very techy. Should I go completely let's go completely left field. I would love to do like something with boats. So like
sail them, fix them.
Like a mechanic or an engineer on in like a boat. I think I'd be good at that. I mean, I think everybody really would love to be like in engineering on like the Enterprise and Star Trek. But that's not going to happen.
You'd have to be Patrick Stewart for that. But
he's a captain.
Okay, well,
it's not an engineer.
Well, I would probably. Well, I wanted to be a pilot my whole life, but it was only when I came to the stark realization that I can't see very far without a pair of glasses, I get motion sick, and I don't like staying overnight on a plane, long hours, I struggle to sleep. I realised that would be a very, very difficult job to do. But, if British Airways are looking for someone, please get in touch. So thank you, Right Honourable Captain Rowan. That's been absolutely awesome.
Thank you.
Next week, we will be back with Chris. He will be back, and this is, you'll be able to hear his dulcet tones once again over the microphone. But for now, that was it. That was Looks Like We Made It, where we were discussing the point about how rapidly evolving production technology has impacted video marketing and the world in general. And that was with Andy Rowan. And where can people find you if they want to look you up?
They can find me on Facebook with Andrew Rowan, or Instagram AndyR87. Or alternatively, for the wedding people out there, you can find me at www.bigscreenfilms.co.uk.
I definitely recommend that if you're getting married and you want to have a wonderful filmmaker come and capture your film, because the stuff he's done already is fantastic. So check that out. So that was it for today. Please have a look at Howell Film on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter and LinkedIn, as well as www.howellfilm.co.uk. If you are on Apple Podcasts, feel free to give us a rate and review. That would be fantastic. And have a great week, and we'll see you next week. Bye.